who lobbied the school's inspectors to take on this issue. Thank you both for joining us here on the program. I mean, I'll come to you first. Why did you feel it was important to lobby for this and push for the school inspectors to go in?
It is not prescribed for children under the age of puberty, and yet we've seen an increase in state-funded schools and in Islamic schools. 42% of Islamic schools have hijab as their uniform, including 27 primary schools. And what we're worried about is this encroachment of a political fundamentalist Islam being pushed into our public spaces, and particularly in our education spaces.
Okay, I'll bring in Amina now. Amina, I mean, do you agree there with Amina on this? Could it be perceived as both sexualization and actually an encroachment of a more hardline view of Islam or interpretation?
I tend to disagree on that. I think that it's to associate the hijab with the sexualization of young girls at that age through Ofsted is sending out a message that's going to create quite a lot of issues and problems for young girls in terms of how it's perceived, who is doing the recognition of that sexualization when we say this is being practiced. And also Ofsted is a body that is there for providing checks and balances in the secular state. So is it its role to intervene in religious practices and how those religious practices should be observed by communities?
But I mean, you know, we're talking here about girls as young as 4 or 5 wearing the headscarf. So when is the right time then for girls to wear a headscarf?
Gosh, that's the million-dollar question. When is the right time for girls to choose how they dress? You know, I think when we talk about the hijab, I'm not endorsing that girls wear the hijab at that age. You know, what I'm talking about is policy measures and how this issue is addressed in the public space in the UK. And I think when girls choose to dress is something that we see evolving around us every day. It changes. Of course, girls in primary schools, you know, are under the authority of parents and the school, and there's a certain code that is set both by the school and also in terms of what parents have values. Now there are discussions within UK amongst parents about what kind of clothing is available to children, you know, so-called secular clothing, if you want to call it. We've had midriff bearing tops and things like that. Do they not sexualize as much as kind of hijab does? So I think, and in terms of the hijab being appropriated by women and girls, Muslim girls, has changed so radically over the last few years.
Let's bring in Amina into this conversation. Amina, you've just heard there from Amina. I mean, the big question then is, when should girls be wearing the headscarf?
It is absolutely understood in Islamic schools of thought and by majority Muslims that the hijab is only for primary school age. So basically that's the choice when it's mandated. This is not mandated for children. And we have countries like Tunisia and Kosovo, which are Muslim majority countries that have banned this in public spaces. So I think that people are being very disingenuous in saying that we don't know. When you have girls, we have schools in England which have children as young as 3 and 4 years old that are not only wearing the hijab but have been told to wear the jilbab as well. This is really problematic, and to say that it's not about sexualization, the whole point of the hijab and modesty is about covering a woman's modesty. Otherwise, why would you have Islamic schools mandating it as part of their uniform? Why would males not have to do this? And why are we continuously saying that once you've wore the hijab, then you're not, often children get taken out of swimming classes, out of creative classes, out of music classes? It is the first manifestation of a fundamentalist Islam.
Yeah, I mean, I think you meant the secondary education rather than primary. But whose job is it then to go in and speak to children as young as 4 or 5? I mean, should these inspectors be going in and speak to small children about these things?
Certainly, and they absolutely should. And Ofsted's role is they are not a regulatory body. What they do is they gather evidence and they speak to children on a whole range of issues, and it's just one issue that they will speak to children. I mean, have we got to a situation where we're saying that Ofsted is, as government officials, as people who are qualified to do this, shouldn't talk to children about whether it's hijab or other issues? I mean, people want it the both ways. We're saying that we want them to speak to children and engage with a wide variety of people, including staff, including parents, etc. But actually, we don't want them to talk about this specific issue or other issues that are not comfortable with us. We need to be really clear about this. It's an inspectorate, and it is part of their role.
I mean, unfortunately, it's a debate and a conversation that has to keep going, and we've run out of time on the program. But Amina and Amina, thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.